So I'm in this weird no man's land. I'm like walking around with like a 3.85 GPA, 1240, 1230 on my SAT. I'm lazy in writing my essay for the school and application. So when I applied to UCLA, UC San Diego, and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, one after the other, I was rejected. And I got rejected applying to a non-impacted major, graphic design. I thought that was going to be my back door. Never did I think I was going to become a graphic designer. This is about failure. And I've been thinking about this also last night. So, I was not a great student in high school. I feel like my older brother got all the brains, all the pressure to do well. And so there wasn't that much pressure on me to do well. And I just never found an application. And I could tell my parents were super disappointed because they knew I was busy reading comics, playing video games, spending time with my girlfriend. In Asian culture, especially first-generation immigrant, college and having a solid education was everything. And so I thought, I wasted this opportunity, and I felt ashamed about it. And I felt like I really let my parents down. Now I'm going to go to community college, and that's where Asian kids go to repent, educational purgatory. We don't know what to do with you, right? And so around that time, my older brother, who's 4 years older than me, he's finished going to school at UC San Diego. And he's preparing to go to grad school, so he's got to study. He's like, hey, come on down. You can live with me. His favorite expression, you can get away from the parental units and you could just be your own person. And he also knew I had a pretty toxic relationship with my girlfriend, but he invited me down. And I made promises to him. I told him, I'm going to focus on school. I'm going to work on my portfolio because, those schools didn't accept me because my portfolio was not good enough. They even wrote in a rejection letter, shows potential, keep working on it, but not ready today. I knew it was true, but I was still angry about it. So I told my brother, I'm not going to call my girlfriend. I'm going to focus on work. And of course, I called my girlfriend. I'm watching late night TV shows like Arsenio Hall and CNC Music Factory with Paula Abdul. I'm just putting in, again, the minimal effort to completing my design assignments. I had committed in my mind it's going to take me 2 years of community college before I can get my portfolio ready to go to Art Center. And this whole time, I think my brother's getting fed up with me. Here's this guy who's hanging out in his house, creating friction for him and his girlfriend, and I'm wasting time, and I'm racking up a phone bill just calling my girlfriend, and he has to pay for it all. So our relationship gets really strained. And it was just like a combination of a bunch of things happening simultaneously that kind of led me to one of the darkest nights of my life. I was having issues with my girlfriend. Long distance relationships don't work when you're like 18 years old. And we get into this big fight, and I'm just super jealous and angry. And I'm like, okay, it's over, man. I'm crying out my eyes, and I'm talking to my brother, and he's like, this is not working. This isn't working, man. And I was feeling really resentful to him because I'm like, I'm your brother, and your girlfriend's making my life miserable, and you're not sticking up for me. So I was full on victim mentality right there. I was just feeling really alone. And I remember this very clearly, thinking to myself, if there's ever a person you can lean on, it's your mom. So I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, and I'm like crying. I'm like, I hate my brother. This is terrible. I was like expecting her to like say, honey, you'll be okay. Let's figure out how to get through this together, because that's who my mom is. She's got the soul and the heart of an angel. And she said something she never said to me before. And she said, maybe this dream of yours, going to art school at Art Center, which is very expensive, maybe just come home and go to state school in San Jose. Just get your degree there. And I know she was trying to comfort me, but in my heart, I just felt like she gave up on me. Like, this was my dream. And she's saying, that's an expensive school. Let's not waste the money. You can go to this other school and it'll be just fine. And I got really angry inside, and I hung up with her, and I was a crying mess. Very emotional person back then. And just thinking, life sucks. Life is not worth moving forward because my girlfriend and I broke up. I hate my brother. His girlfriend hates me. My mom is just like done with all this nonsense. And I don't even talk to my dad because he's like, the kid is going to study what? So I was feeling very alone, very broken. And I remember, and I guess a lot of teenagers think this, but like thoughts of suicide were like entering my head. I'm like, life is just not worth living anymore. I've broken every promise, fully guilty. And it's only in reflection that I can say that I was just an idiot. But in that moment, I was like, just it's not worth it. None of this is worth it. And so in that moment, that night, I remember after all the tears had dried up, like I cannot cry anymore. I said, the path forward is pretty dark. You have a choice to make. So this is the call to action here. Are you going to continue down this path? Or are you going to choose a different path? Are you going to continue to blame other people? Or are you going to take responsibility and be accountable for what you do? Are you so determined to achieve this thing that you set in your mind? Or are you just going to settle? And all those thoughts were kind of magnifying in my head. And you know, I've described this before, but I have outer body experiences quite often, actually. And so I can see myself floating away as the camera, my lens, my POV was floating above me in the ceiling, looking back on me and saying, you know what, make a decision. And I remember just as clear as it is, the next day I woke up, I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to have Terminator vision from here on out. And I said, I hate the person that I am. I want to reinvent myself and become somebody totally different. Because I said to myself at that time, you're a loser, you know, you're a slacker, you're lazy. It's all talk from you. You've broken every promise. Be somebody else tomorrow. And so in that night, the dark night of the soul, 24 hours later, I'm a whole different person. I'm full of self-pity. I'm full of anger and spite. I'm using this energy now to try to figure out, how do I climb out of Lazarus' pit? I need to become a new person. I need to be reborn, but I'm broken. What do I do? And so I was sitting there and it just became really clear to me. I wanted to, it's just like so childish even what I'm about to say, okay? I just wanted to get into Art Center, which is the school I was supposed to get into. I just wanted to prove everyone wrong. And that's not a great, healthy place to begin a journey like this, but it's mostly just anger. I wanted to prove my ex-girlfriend wrong for giving up on us as a relationship, and that one day she'll regret it. By the way, she did, by the way. So I'm just like, you know, there's a happy ending to this story. And then I wanted to prove my brother wrong, that he didn't make a mistake by believing in me. Or maybe I wanted to prove his original premise right. And I'm embarrassed. And I even said to him, once I got through this in the next 3 months, because that's how long that journey took, I said to him, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I acted like a brat. And I took everything you did for me for granted. And I'm really, really sorry. And he goes, no problem, bro. And that was it. And I wanted to prove my mom wrong. Like, Mom, you should never give up on me. I had this dream, and I know I wasn't honoring the trust and the faith that you put in me, that you placed on me, but I'm going to do it. And so then begins the journey. And now it's like, you know what? It's almost like a movie where, you know, the room is messy and the pizza box is half eaten and the TV's on. You turn off the TV, clean up the room, and you get things in order. You just start to get your act together. And I knew that there was a mountain of work that had to be done in my timeline in a year and 10 months. And I have basically until the end of that semester, because my brother was finishing up. He already took his exam. He's waiting for it. So there was a very finite deadline now. Basically, by the end of that summer, we're going back home. And that's all the time that I have. And so I took whatever amount of energy I had, and I squeezed it in, and I went into straight up beast mode. And I pretty much completed a portfolio from nothing in, I think it was like less than 2 or 3 months. I can't remember now. And I got it together. And I felt so accomplished. Like every day that you work towards your goal, every step that you move forward, you can turn around and say, whoa, we've covered some ground. It's like Dan Hardy talks about in The Compound Effect. He says, don't forget the big mo. It's momentum. It's like when you pump a water pump, priming the pump, it takes a lot of energy to get the water from the well to come up. But once the water's flowing, it's almost effortless to keep the water flowing. And it was flowing. And I could see the reaction from everyone around me, from my teacher, who also invested time in me and saying, I'm going to do everything I can to get you to go to Art Center. And she was seeing the output, and I was asking for feedback on projects that I just self-initiated. And then she introduced me to her boyfriend at that time. Now her husband, give Chris some advice and help. And so all these people start to coalesce around you, this coalition that want to help you, because we all want to help people that are moving forward. I was talking the other day, like, how do I choose who I want to mentor? And very selfishly, I tried to pick the best students because I could only help a few people in real life. And I'm looking for people who are ready to change, who are ready to grow, who will do the work. And so in that moment in time, I think, I didn't know it, but externally I was sending out a signal. I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to put in the work. Stop watching Paula Abdul. Stop watching Arsenio Hall. And I was just doing the work. And the people at Kinko's would see me or at Zebra Copies and say, here he is again. You're a regular now here at the copy shop working your thing. What are you working on? And so all those little things are like tiny little positive affirmations that is putting gas in the fuel tank and propelling me forward. So that period of time and growth happened in a very short window of time, relatively speaking. And it was like the momentum, and you have speed and the wind is at your back and you're going forward. And so that's how I did it. When I start to post these personal stories, and I try to put a lesson in there, not just like doing a trauma dump on people, because then it gets into what my friend Derek Sai says, it's like pity porn, like woe is me, how difficult is my life, the world's against me. I'm okay with sharing just about anything about me, my life, the difficulties, the things I've done well, the things I've done poorly, if it's in service of helping someone. I don't want to tell people stuff because it's just for the sake of gossip. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you thought that, or you said that, or you did that. That would not be helpful. So here's our rule of thumb. If you're still new in trying to create value and trying to help people or to establish your own art or expertise, probably just lay off from the personal story just for a beat. Give people a reason to care first, and then they're going to want to know who the person is behind the work. And some people have been able to do it in a very integrated way and to build their audience. I think Aaron Draplin's one of those people, and he's done a wonderful job of doing that. I say right now, if you haven't done enough, like for example, if you're a 19-year-old kid, I can say that because I'm almost 50, okay? No disrespect, but if you're a 19-year-old kid and you're still like figuring out your way in design, just practice your craft, get good at something, share that openly, and be very honest and direct about it. And eventually people are going to say, you do really great work. We'd love to interview you and understand your process and understand your story. And it's going to be very natural. Because some people who are going to listen to this, I don't want you to run away from this and saying, well, I've never created content before. Here goes the whole story, emotional trauma dump. And why does anybody care? All of us have a call to action in our lives multiple times in a year, in a month, even in a day. And it's your refusal of the call, your anxiety about the call, that's the interesting part. I don't want to be the guy who volunteers information. It's called oversharing, TMI. And I don't want to share those stories with you unless you're interested. So everybody right now, just look back into your life and think about a time when you had anxiety over something. Find out what the call to action was and who helped you to get through it. Who is the mentor? Who helped you to get through the threshold, and what lesson did you learn having left the ordinary world into the new world? What did you learn?